than I came into it. You think Cheryl Miller is resentful for me that I had a league to play in? No, she's being the mentor that she is, and she's supporting and loving and sitting courtside cheering on Juju Watkins. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA.
Candace Parker, a 3-time WNBA champion and one of the most iconic players in basketball history, just unleashed what may be the most scathing critique of Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's leadership to date. And let's be honest, it wasn't even a contest.
Candace Parker ended up dropping some big facts on First Take, man, talking about resentment on younger players from older players and retired players. She had a great dialogue.
Stephen A. Smith, one of the most influential voices in sports media, sat down with Candace Parker on ESPN's First Take and asked the question that's been echoing across the WNBA landscape. Is there truth to the growing narrative of resentment toward Caitlin Clark? And are veteran players feeling sidelined in this new era of women's basketball?
When we look at the WNBA, whether we've speculated about resentment or whatever it is, ultimately it comes down to the fact that there were an abundance of women in the WNBA doing tremendous work on behalf of the WNBA and the game of basketball. And you just sense that folks were feeling an absence of appreciation for what they had done and what their collective contribution was to bring the WNBA to where it is now and where it evidently is going. Can you speak to that collective frustration that some may have been feeling, and whether or not you think it's something that's being overcome as you all thrive and move forward and continue to promote and uplift this league?
And here's where it gets truly powerful. While Cathy Engelbert fumbles with tone-deaf remarks and appears determined to downplay Caitlin Clark's transformative impact on the league, Candace Parker stepped forward and gave us a masterclass in what real leadership looks like.
You has grown so much, and it's just been amazing to watch when you put it on television. The numbers don't lie, and visibility matters. Being able to have slots on ABC and ESPN. I know a couple years ago was the first time that the NCAA tournament was put on ABC, and we saw what the viewership looked like. So just looking at the growth of the league, the style of play, now there's being expansion teams and all that stuff. So as a fan, as a lover of the WNBA, I'm excited.
It blows my mind, Parker said, with the kind of clarity and grace that makes you wonder why she isn't already running the entire league. People constantly ask me if I'm resentful about where the WNBA is now, but my job was to leave the game better than I found it. Do you think Cheryl Miller resented me for having a league to play in? Not at all. She mentored me, supported me, and showed love. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and every woman in the WNBA. Did you hear that? That's the sound of real leadership, of someone who truly understands what the WNBA stands for, what it represents, and what it needs to thrive. And it's a sharp contrast to the muddled messaging and passive leadership we've been getting from Cathy Engelbert.
I'm like, Candace Parker, look, you shouldn't feel that way. The same way she brought up the idea of Cheryl Miller supporting her, that's how everybody should be. But it's more so of they want to paint the narrative that it's a white and black thing going on. And now that toxic energy is spilling over to people who don't even watch the games. So now they feel like they are a part of the league just because they know or feel like they know what's going on with the race thing. Like, cut it out.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe. Now let's talk about Cathy Engelbert, because she's been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Remember when she was asked about the Caitlin Clark phenomenon? Instead of celebrating the arrival of a generational talent who's brought tens of millions of new eyes to the league, Engelbert immediately deflected. No league is ever about one player, she said, and then unbelievably added that that player could get hurt or whatever. Are you serious? Your biggest star, the face of the league's explosive growth, and your instinct is to downplay her impact and casually mention injury? That's not caution. That's tone-deaf leadership that's got fans everywhere pulling their hair out. But it gets worse when directly asked about the racist and toxic behavior targeting Caitlin Clark, harassment that's been playing out in real time for the world to see. Engelbert had the chance to take a firm, principled stand. Instead, she offered a weak, vague comment about rivalry being good for the league. No condemnation of racism, no defense of her players. Just empty platitudes. The WNBA Players Association had to step in and publicly call her out for failing to address the racism, misogyny, and harassment being aimed at athletes. This is the person meant to lead women's basketball into the future? This is the commissioner entrusted with protecting and promoting the league's brightest stars? Please.
And when questioned about the racism and sexism some of the players in the W were facing, she compared it to the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry as no big deal. Actually something that the league wanted to see.
Now contrast that mess with how Candace Parker defines leadership and mentorship. When Stephen A. Smith brought up the frustrations some veteran players might be feeling, Parker didn't dodge the question or throw out vague excuses. She went straight to the core of what truly matters. "Let's keep it about basketball," she said. 5 simple words, delivered with the kind of clarity and conviction that cuts through all the noise. That's my thing. And just like that, Parker laid out the exact philosophy the WNBA needs right now, because when we focus on the game, the talent, the competition, the growth, everything else begins to fall into place. "I think the WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place," she continued. "That's not blind optimism. That's leadership rooted in belief, experience, and vision." While Engelbert is busy making awkward comments about players getting injured and fumbling serious issues like racism and harassment, Parker is locked in on what truly matters: the game itself and the women who make it exceptional. She went on, "I think that rivalry is super important. I think conversation is super important. But I want to keep it within the lines of the game, and I think that's what's most important. That's what real leadership sounds like. Someone who understands that you can have drama, rivalry, and headlines without letting it spiral into toxicity. Someone who doesn't just love the WNBA, but respects it enough to protect its integrity." Meanwhile, Engelbert seems content to let things unravel, or worse, to pretend nothing's wrong.
Now everybody has a Twitter finger. Everybody can have reach to, the WNBA and make comments. But really the key is, let's keep it about basketball. That's my thing. And when we do that, then we're able to really grow the game and what it represents. There are some talented players that have been in this league, but now, because of visibility, listen, I still know the Dominique Wilkins. I still know, all of those players, the Dr. J's and all that stuff. I don't think they're not salty that MJ came along and grew the game. I mean, that's what it is. And so I think that the WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place. Now it's about business to me. It's about taking care of business and making sure. I would like to see, and I'll say this in the CBA, I would like to see more roster spots, because we can't have 11 or 12 women on a team. You got to, lean into the player growth and player development.
And here's what makes this moment even more powerful. Stephen A. Smith, one of Caitlin Clark's most vocal and consistent advocates since she entered the league, immediately recognized the weight of what Candace Parker was saying. You could see it in his face during the conversation. He knew he wasn't just talking to a basketball legend. He was hearing from someone who actually gets it, someone who understands what the WNBA needs in this pivotal moment. Stevens, been saying it for months, Caitlin Clark is essential to the league's growth and future. He's watched Cathy Engelbert stumble through interview after interview, failing to fully acknowledge Clark's generational impact. So when he sits across from Candace Parker and hears her speak with that rare blend of clarity, humility, and vision about leadership, mentorship, and uplifting the next generation, he's thinking exactly what every WNBA fan is thinking. Why isn't this woman running the league? Clip 8. Speaking of fans, let's talk about the reaction to Candace Parker's comments. Social. Media lit up with praise, with people celebrating her thoughtful approach and drawing stark contrast to Cathy Engelbert's continued missteps. Comments like, "Finally, someone with common sense, and this is what real leadership looks like," flooded timelines following Parker's appearance on First Take. Fans have been growing increasingly frustrated with Engelbert's leadership. For months, they've seen her downplay Caitlin Clark's impact, stumble through responses to serious issues, and consistently come across as out of touch with what the league actually needs. And then there's Candace Parker, who retired just before Clark's rookie season, already stepping up to support the next generation with grace, insight, and purpose.
Merchandise sales were also up 450% for the WNBA, according to Fanatics, and Clark was the top-selling player and is fifth among athletes across all sports. Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA-specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do, knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks.
Happening. Tell us what happened. Tell us when it happened. Tell us the measures that you plan to put in place to stop this from happening. Put a name on it, Kathy. You come out and talk to the league. You come out and talk to the media. You come out and talk to the fans about what's going on. Turned her Twitter private. She hasn't proven or provided evidence that she was at the game yesterday. People who barely watch basketball or grift for engagement picked up on it and it blew up. There's yet to be any video evidence.
Charter flights. Yeah. The day I retired, I said, this is
Literally.
bullshit. This has got to be on some bullshit.
Yeah.
They said chartered flight. Like, literally, I pressed send on the little retirement post, shed a little tear, and then Kathy Engelberg want to come out and be like, chartered flights for the whole league. I said,
Yeah. It's
but I'm
great.
happy for y'all. I am. I'm happy. No, but it shows, and that's the thing is like the player experience.
means something.
It means so much because when you are taken care of and all you have to think of is this, and it's just easier, you play better because that's all you have to think of. Story is super important. I think conversation is super important. You know, I tuned in when Kevin Durant went back and played Russell Westbrook, and they bumped shoulders and everybody was tuned in. But I want to keep it within the lines of the game. And I think that's what's the most important.
All the fans, the WNBA fans, the black women, get used to everyone talking about Caitlin Clark until she retires. And then after she retires, she's still going to be talked about. Because, we never seen nothing like her. So get used to it. You can keep bringing up the fans. You can keep bringing up pathetic stuff. You can keep bringing up non-irrelevant stuff that nobody cares about. Y'all can keep bringing that because y'all going to keep bringing up color, race. If this was any other sport, I'm telling you now, they would not care. I don't care if you blue, purple, orange, yellow. They don't care. They're going to talk about you. But get used to everyone talking about Caitlin Clark until she retires.